everybody? Welcome back once more to day 3 here of the Master Division playoffs here for Faceit. It has been a couple of exciting days already to get things going, but things are truly heating up here in the lower bracket, and the reason why that is, Dex, well, both these teams right here, they're in a good situation to where they can be locked into next season's Master Division, but it's all about getting that top four, getting through the initial qualifying stage for the OWCS Open qualifiers. You can go past that initial first stage by winning this game right here tonight.
Yeah, and two teams coming in on very different kind of results last night. Emote down mid, lost to Dreamland, the number 1 overall seed, 3-1. Granted, that one map, you have to talk about that one a little bit here, Hunter, because again, only the 7th map that Dreamland has dropped all season long, and Emote down mid able to hand that one to them there. Amplify, on the other hand, after our series last night between Dreamland and Emote down mid, we watched both the lower bracket series go the distance, and Amplify, man, beating Extinction. A huge upset for them, especially because a lot of people were really talking about Extinction potentially being a team that could have that lower bracket run and make it all the way to the grand finals.
Yeah, we talked about it so much, and there was a lot of faith in this team, but Amplify, they pull that game back, they make it happen, and they take away this big dub. And to be fair, there were these kind of things happening all across the entire bracket. I mean, Nightmare is also down here in the lower bracket now, which is insane to note, by the way, as they go down to Kintsugi, who pulled out a big reverse sweep win against them. Now they're going to have a match against Dreamland happening tomorrow. Both of them already going to be locked in place for the top 4. So right now for them, it's no longer about that. It's about going and winning the whole thing.
Absolutely here. And you talk about that Nightmare and Nightmare Academy game coming up here tonight as well. They only met a couple weeks ago, or really, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And Nightmare Pro, as we'll call them here when they're playing against Academy, able to beat them there 3-0. They had a couple mistakes as well, which were very publicly put out there because it was a big featured broadcast there. But still, it seemed like a walk in the park for them there. In the playoffs, though, I never want to count out a team in Nightmare Academy. If they get a win here tonight, Hunter, we have to talk about that as being a huge upset because everyone's talking about that Nightmare roster being essentially an OWCS roster just here in Masters. The fact they're already in the lower bracket is a big shock, but let's focus back in on this one here because, hey, these teams here do have some experience with members already having played in OWCS. Both of them do. Emote down mid. You can't really talk about them without talking about Cardiff, a lot like what we did last night. Amplify, though, Hunter, again, it's a team that me and you really like a lot. We like a lot of these players on, and probably one of our favorite teams here in this Masters tier. I will be honest, me and you did have a little bit of a celebration yesterday after they did beat Extinction in a huge upset. Now, though, going up against Emote down mid, when these two teams met in the regular season, it was Emote down mid winning that series 3-1. Does Amplify keep this momentum going here, though, with a huge win last night?
Obviously, we're going to have to find out when we get into things, but it's a weird situation because obviously Amplify, with all the momentum from that big win against Extinction, you have to think about the fact that Emote down mid is coming down from a loss to Dreamland, which, to be fair, they didn't make that easy for Dreamland whatsoever. That was a 3-1 game. They fought back hard and tried so many things against them. Now, this is an Amplify squad who has to deal with that exact same thing that we have seen before that they have failed to do. But if you can take down a team like Extinction, you could do the same thing for EDM. It's about adjusting and being able to adapt to their style because EDM, they truly play like no other team does. And while in some instances you could say, okay, we can try to deal with that, it's never that simple. Not with this team.
No, it's not, especially because, again, you talk about Cardiff playing both a Wrecking Ball and a Doomfist here. We did see a little bit of, I believe, Zarya from them last night, Sigma as well. I mean, they do have a little bit of a deep pool when it comes to tanks here, but you really have to focus in on those first 2 tanks I talked about there, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist. We saw Dreamland ban both of them out in those first 2 maps. I think it really ended up working out for them because, like I said, Hunter, a lot throughout that series, you get rid of those 2 heroes very early on in the series. Yeah, you're going to leave them there for the rest of the series, but you give yourself time to really try to figure it out. But I don't think Dreamland struggled with figuring it out. I think they really figured it out from the get-go there. Great performances from PDK, Grapes really coming in, doing a lot for EDM last night. Again, not able to get over the hump in a couple of the maps, but you could see that maybe this Dreamland team that has been so dominant throughout the regular season and so far in the playoffs isn't completely unbeatable here.
No, it's not completely unbeatable. And obviously, it's going to be a situation where it feels like nobody is unbeatable in total with who's left. Obviously, Dreamland is kind of like the example, the team where you say, yeah, they're the ones that have truly proven it. But I'm the man famous for saying that once you're in the playoffs, you're 0-0. Those stats, those previous statistics and standings don't matter. It's about what you can do here in the playoffs. And to be fair, these are both teams that have shown what they can do already in the playoffs, but unfortunately, one of them is not going to get that spot in the second stage of the qualifiers, at least not without fighting for it a different way. But we know at the very least, we're going to be starting over on Ilios, and with Emote mid being the higher seed, I believe they're also going to get the first ban here momentarily.
Yeah, that should be the case here. Amplify, though, I mean, again, this is a team that we've seen a lot of times throughout the regular season. And granted, me and you, I'm not going to say that. We've had this conversation behind the scenes. We'll leave it behind the scenes.
Yes.
But again, this is the team, like we said, with players that we really enjoy. Me and you are very high on J-Man. Coming out, Gap is another incredible tank. Ewan, a co-streamer, I believe, 2 seasons ago, but really came back into it last season. And now this season on an Amplify team, which has been really, really good for them. This entire Amplify team really feels like they picked up a couple good pieces from a lot of teams and really have been able to put together a strong season. Now they've already locked themselves in to next season's Masters here no matter what. However, who's to say they can't make the run here and try to get into OWCS again?
Yeah, I mean, it's a definite opportunity. And obviously, there's some of these players that are familiar with being in OWCS previously and having that opportunity to be in there and play us up against some of the best squads in all of North America. And obviously, with this being the case, we saw earlier that first ban went towards the Diva, which overall, I don't mind that pick whatsoever. I know I've seen the Diva come up previously quite a couple of times from Amplify, and it's just something that you don't want to deal with, something that can honestly be kind of a hindrance to something like a Wrecking Ball, if that's the route that Cardi fan decides to go to get things started. Second ban did go through. Obviously, we won't know until the lobby hopefully gets ready. Faceit seems somewhat confident the issue was fixed, so we're going to find out pretty shortly what the situation is. But it's a big game tonight at the end of the day. Once you get past that top 4, you have that threshold. The other, again, has to go through the open qualifiers, has to fight for the right to be in that second stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you have to look at it like this here. I mean, you're already locked in. 1 win puts you in that bye, like you said. But again, it's very important. You want to try to keep the momentum up here. Amplify, huge win last night, has a lot of momentum on their side. EDM, I think even with a loss, they look to bounce back because you have to remember this EDM team started 0-3, proceeded to only lose, I believe, 2 more series the rest of the season here. So a very, very good team. As we did see, the second ban was going to be Tracer. The series is put on hold, and I don't like this.
Yeah, I think we all know what's going to be happening here. And hey, little inside joke. There's going to be a lot of people that need to be messaged by somebody from one of these squads here because obviously, little behind the scenes context. When this sort of situation happens, obviously we as the co-streamers or vice versa the players need to reach out to each other. That way we can get involved when we go to custom lobbies and get everybody involved. So obviously we'll see if the lobby will fix itself, but I'm sure in a couple minutes here we're gonna get some kind of message here saying like, hey, this is what's going on, get it taken care of. It's been an unfortunate situation with the playoffs, but at the end of the day, there is at least a counter solution.
Yeah, there is a solution. I mean, again, me and you have been very privy to this in South America, where we cover it, South American Overwatch and South American Masters tier, where this has happened a lot. We know a couple players down there, a couple managers, a couple coaches, and we're always able to get into the games and lobbies very quickly. Yesterday, though, was one of those moments where we really knew one player, but by the time we figured it all out that the series was starting, we were a little bit too late. Again, thank you to Bullskunk for getting us in the lobby yesterday. And I believe we might be getting invited here to a lobby here very quickly, Hunter.
Yeah, we just might. Did you get? Yep, I got.
No, that's me inviting you to a group in case this all goes through here. But while we wait for potentially what's going to happen here to happen, let's all remind you guys that, hey, me and Hunter are two of the featured co-streamers here for Faceit League playoffs. Below both our streams, there should be a Faceit panel for you to connect your Faceit account to. Once you do that, all you have to do is watch one of our streams, or hell, both of our streams, double the chance to get a Faceit point drop that will go throughout the entirety of playoffs. While NA and EMEA Masters ends this week, it still goes through next week, as we'll see a lot of the expert and open tiers and next Saturday. And I believe Masters for both South America and Oceania will be completing next Saturday as well. So a lot of chances for you to get those Faceit point drops through the featured co-streamers.
Yep, and especially a big opportunity with us tomorrow with a doubleheader for South America and North America. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. We're obviously really pumped up for that, as hopefully we'll get things settled and squared away here, as I'm going to take a random stab in the dark and say that the other series is experiencing the same problems, and yep, that is 100% the case. But obviously we'll see how things go from here at the end of the day. I guess the way we want to go about this, being in the situation that we are in, or more so, the situation that all of these teams are in, this is probably not the way that we fully expected the bracket to go. Obviously, there are a couple things that you could quantify them as upsets if you want to. At the end of the day, there were a bunch of squads that hung around the 9-6, 10-5 range with each other. There were two definitive favorites going into the playoffs, with that being Nightmare and, of course, Dreamland. But now you have these teams that are rallying back, like Kintsugi's proving how tough they are, Amplify getting that big win. It's not how we expected it to go, but to be fair, at the same time, that's how we want it to go.
Yeah, and again, Nightmare and Dreamland, like you said, were the favorites. Kintsugi, again, they were a really big question mark for me and you coming into the Faceit season after the winter break right there, because they only played 3 games. They still had a lot to play over those last couple weeks. All right.
You okay there, buddy?
Are you in?
No. Not enough room to join match. They need to open up specs, is what's happening. So a little short context. I believe we were being invited, but I don't think there's enough room for all the spectators involved. Either that, or there is just such an ungodly amount of people. But either way, we're in here now. There is we have the Avengers squad in here right now, ready to go. It's great.
Yeah, let's just say the amount of co-streamers streaming this game tonight surprised both me and you here tonight, Hunter. Bolscon covering it is always a great thing. We have a surprise guest, though, I think is the easiest way to put it. It would be Hunter that's joining the broadcast as well. Not ours. He's covering it himself. But a lot of people are now co-streaming this one here. We're going to try to figure out if anyone's co-streaming the Nightmare game, because that is, again, a very important game for both those teams, as a win for either one that puts them into a really, really good spot.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a really important game in its own right. But obviously, we'll see. I'm always going to keep my eye out, and if we see somebody's doing it, obviously we'll make sure you pull them up as well. So, hey, you can watch both these important games side by side. But as things are right now, we're going to wait for things to get underway, as they're just going to make sure they verify things here. I don't know if I want to answer this question. Yeah, I'll just let them answer. But it's going to be exciting nonetheless. I'm excited for both these teams making it this far, especially from some of the struggles that these players have had with Amplify, and just a lot of these players that have bounced back from either the previous EDM team or Dilducks to be on this squad now, and came back from a bad start as well. It's impressive that they're both standing here in the top 6 already.
Yeah, again, I think on paper, you could come into the season really saying, especially for Emote mid, this is a roster that everyone really expected to probably be at this point. The 0-3 start, though, again, like I kind of mentioned, was one that kind of bewildered a couple people. And maybe we thought, like, hey, the magic had kind of gone away. People started to figure out how this Emote mid team wanted to play. Because you look at someone like Cardifan, if you're able to shut them down, the rest of that team kind of follows behind them as well. But it seemed like after that 0-3 start, they locked in and became a completely different team. Amplify, on the other hand, I feel like at the start of the season, a lot of people looked at this team and were saying, like, hey, they have really high highs, but they could also have some really low lows as well. And throughout the season, Hunter, me and you did see it at times. Whenever we covered them, we did see their lows. But when we weren't watching them, their highs were immense. They were incredible here. So this is a team that, I mean, I think could really surprise a lot of people here tonight in EDM.
Yeah, no, I 100% think they can. They're a team that's really had this ability to punch up really, really far in the past, and I think that they have the ability to win this game here today. Like I just mentioned in chat, I think whether or not they can win this game depends on how fast they can adjust to the style of EDM, because EDM is going to come swinging right out the gate with that Doom/Ball comp. And it's going to come down to Amplify to decide how they want to go about. Obviously, the ban situation is important. They obviously, with the Diva ban in place, aren't able to ban either of those characters because obviously the tank ban locks them out of doing so. And I feel like that's more of a strategic call on the EDM to get out the gate here really strong, to be able to run what they love to run and carry that momentum forward. That's something that they tried to do against Dreamland before, but obviously Dreamland with the higher seed had the ability to shut that down before they could prevent such.
Yeah, and again, I think the Diva ban coming out from EDM really shows you how much the Diva actually affects something like a Wrecking Ball and a Doomfist. And we saw it a lot last night from Dion for Dreamland. And again, I think Dion, when tanks are getting talked about, I feel like people talk about Dion being in, you know, maybe that top tier. I think you really have to start talking about Dion being the top. Then I think the best tank. They are incredibly good on no matter what hero they play, and we saw the flexibility from them last night. Only really struggling at one moment at the start of Dorado when they came out on Zarya, and that was the first time that me and you saw Dreamland play that Zarya Vendetta composition. Outside of that, they really didn't touch that at all, and it worked well for them here. But hey, Tracer the ban coming out here from Amplify as well. So you're getting rid of a good kind of counter there with that Doomfist or that Wrecking Ball. Leaves the Genji, leaves the Venture wide open for EDM. Leaves the Vendetta there as well, as we did see EDM play the Vendetta with both a Wrecking Ball and a Doomfist yesterday here. But Amplify, what is it going to be? What are they going to be showing us here as we do head into Ilios here to get our series started?
Yep, finally going to get things rocking. Only remember, a spot in the Stage 2 of qualifiers is on the line here. The Tracer and the Diva, both not going to be available for this opening outing. And hopefully, for EDM, it's playing right into their hands of how they want things to go. If they can keep preventing those bans to go through on a couple of their very played heroes, things could stay in their favor. But like I said before, it is going to come down to how quick Amplify can make the adjustments to get this composition. Because to be fair, it's not some kind of secret as to what Emote down mid is going to run here. Amplify is very aware of what they're going to be walking into.
Yeah, this is the worst kept secret in the North American region, what EDM is going to be playing here. But you look at the other side. Amplify kind of showing us what I expected to see from them. The Zarya Vendetta composition really strong right now. J-Man and PDK playing Freya. Again, Hunter, it was about maybe 3 weeks ago we started to see Freya get a little bit more picks here and there. But in this last week, ever since playoffs started, it seems like Freya has become the mainstay hit scan here for a lot of teams. Juno coming out of the gate there for Amplify just to get them a little bit quicker, because without the Sim TP that came out there from EDM, they're just going to be a little bit behind. But you already see Cardiofan getting in the backline, and Biz going to be the one that's going to try to deal with them here first.
Yeah, obviously Gap having these bubbles is going to be really important as well. When you go for those power drives, you're going to have that follow-up to be able to help your backline out a little bit more. Now, of course, that goes with staying in a very good territory. You see everybody kind of just hiding away on the inside, meaning that Cardiofan doesn't really have a good target to go after in some of these engagements. But the first fight has gone properly underway. Supports are getting hassled a little bit, but Cardiofan can't seem to find the means to shut them down, as at least doing a good job of trying to keep this thing shut down. Takes away the Mega Health Pack from Biz, as they're going to get finished off here. And while the point is on Amplify's for now, it is not going to stay that way.
Yeah, going to be a very, very short time right there to see Ryan and PDK clean up the fight right there. And Biz not getting that large health pack signified really the end of that fight, because this entire competition that you're seeing Amplify run here is solely based around how aggressive can Biz and Gap be. Biz getting the bubbles from Gap, and J-Man being there to really clean up from a distance. Ewan and Crazy Cat have to be able to speed them around, but again, you already see Biz going in. One of those bubbles invested here, but they're not going to really be punished much. But Cardiofan trying to do what they can, getting a lot of recon, as PDK with a nice shot there. PDK, though, about to have Bolo ready to go here pretty quickly. That could stop maybe Biz from charging straight into the backline.
Yep, in all fairness, J-Man not too far behind from their first Bolo as well. Both get a sticky onto each other, both looking for a potential opportunity here, as we're to see who's going to be willing to pull the first shot right here, and it's going to be PDK going for it. Doesn't get the follow-up, as the point's going to flip over without anybody going down, and with Grapes going down, that's going to open up the door as the trade-out's beginning to come through. That means it's going to come down to Cardiofan here to try to clutch things up over on the point, but they might have to do a soft regroup.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do it here, especially with PDK, especially with Gap still alive here for Amplify. There was no reason for them necessarily to stick in the fight, but it does allow them to come back in pretty quickly here. As again, Cardi-Fan not necessarily be someone who's looking to cap point on their own. They're looking to be a little bit of a distraction here, as you already see both members, both teams back in at full strength.
Yep, bullet shots. Yep, not gonna find a whole lot. Ryan is gonna have to hit the copy. Double stick over there, and while Ryan does run out of the copy eventually, Consider Rush is going to be used to try to win this fight back, and it's going to be rough nonetheless. But still, Biz is going to be pushed away. Consider Rush from the other side. Beat invested as well from both sides as well. This is an ultathon online, and unfortunately, I think with the mines, the separation is probably going to be a little too much to bear with your Gap. Incredibly low, and Ryan finds the finish. And now I think this is just going to be a stall game for Amplify as they're going down one at a time. But they do stall it out for quite a little extra while here. In all fairness, they're going to get this thing close to that 70% marker and a crispy 69%.
Nice kind of play there from Amplify. And hey, big thing about that fight, both beats came out, both consumers came out. You look at Gap right now, that grab finds a lot more value here. Yeah, PDK does have the bowler ready to go, but again, that's one of the weaker ultimates in the game damage-wise. You need a lot of cleanup after to really pick up kill. However, Cardi-Fan on maybe the best cleanup hero in the game at the moment, already harassing the backline, but you have to really be careful here for EDM. You know that grab is ready here for Gap. You cannot be next to each other.
No, yeah, 100%. Sonic Blade available here. J-Man goes down early. Rough situation, but the solo grab onto Grapes, by the way. It's definitely going to even things back up here, but it doesn't fix the overall problem. You still have to finish bodies off, and unfortunately, Biz is just in too deep, and now you might have to consider taking a quick reset here to set up for one more fight, because we're at 80% right now. But Crazy Cat takes down Ryan before the copy goes through, so now Gap just needs to be kept alive because their hope of staying in this fight lie with them.
PDK gonna be able to find J-Man out here pretty early on. Crazy Cat gonna be able to heal Gap up here. The Sunring Blade coming out, but the mine's on the field as well.
Yep, and you get them very low. Unfortunately, we don't know if it's gonna be enough here. Overtime is gonna activate, but unfortunately, I don't think this overtime is going to help their case at all. Just delaying the NO. Crazy Cat is going to have a Consider Rush available. Unfortunately, not enough healing on the scene as J-Man trying to get another touch, but it's just not going to happen. So 100-69 to get things started on this first one. And to be fair, it's a lot of good fight back here from Amplify. Unfortunately, it comes down to a lot of these unfortunate early picks that are found out. Sometimes not even just early, but really late ones.
Picks have hurt both teams, but I think in those last couple fights, you could really look at PDK finding J-Man out, and I think Ryan found J-Man out in one of the fights as well, being huge difference makers there for him, because a lot of the damage that you get from this Amplify squad right now, yeah, is from Biz and Gap, but you need J-Man there to be able to apply a little bit more pressure to that backline, to PDK, to Gorilla, who's going to be kind of hanging back, not necessarily trying to put themselves in danger. You want J-Man to be able to find them out and make sure that they're kind of hiding around corners, trying to make it that Cardi-Fan is not getting the most healing they possibly can here. No big swaps from either side coming out here on our second point. Same thing that happened, Sim for one side, Juno for the other. But Cardi-Fan already in the thick of it here, gonna be able to roll away though with their lives.
Yep, 100%, as no real adjustments coming through for either side in this situation. But again, you see Cardi-Fan just kind of hanging around on that top rope, waiting for the right opportunity, and Biz is getting bulwarked over there, but will be able to stay alive at the very least at this point. Beginning to unlock as Gap. The biggest thing is trying to keep Gap separated from the rest of the team. The moment you do that, the moment someone like Ewan can be separated, and again, it's J-Man going down first, and with getting off the point right there, and it's being slowly taken back, you could get a flip your way, and in fact, you'll get the flip, but we're just going to get a repeat of round one here, it looks like.
I mean, you find Graves, you lose Ewan. If you can actually get Cardi-Fan here, that would be big. That's big now. And this is normally a point in the past, especially yesterday, where we saw EDM be very smart, not put themselves in any spot to get taken out very early on as a staggering pick. And yeah, they're just going to back up and wait for Cardi-Fan to come back, because you have to remember, on that Wrecking Ball, they can get back here pretty quickly. Ryan, though, overextends, and J-Man going to be able to punish them there.
Yep, B is going to get the big slam, but Cardi-Fan almost dead as soon as they came back. We'll be able to recover, though. But already PDK with that bullet shot ahead of J-Man once more. It's going to be critical having it all this early on.
PDK's been able to build up these bullets really, really quickly here, especially when you compare it to J-Man. But right now, if you're Amplify, you like what you have here. You have a lead. You're really forcing EDM to kind of play a little bit scattered. Seems the bullet out's going to land on target of Biz, but the bubble and the Suzu can save them. However, Crazy Cat can't be saved.
Yeah, weird trade-outs going back and forth right now, but Gap is going to need some care. You see the boop onto Cardi-Fan, but Cardi-Fan unfortunately has the means to survive, and now we're going back to the stall game here. Ewan The last one hanging around with Biz there for a little bit of extra cares. Cardi-Fan, at the very least, does die, so that potentially opens the door for a little bit more stall factor right here as Ewan is able to touch one final time, hoping for a little bit of reinforcements as they're going to make their way back momentarily. But momentarily might be the word as J-Man gets rid of one, hoping to find the second connection. You're going to try to make your way back as Biz gets the touch. You're right around the corner. If you're Gap, you can keep them going somehow. This stall is still going, but the numbers are still so heavily out of the favor that at the end of the day, this is indeed just going to be stall.
I don't think they necessarily care. I mean, Graves going to kill them there with the boop. They were just going to throw themselves into the pit. Hunter, Amplify got an extra 30% out of that. Really, you don't necessarily care about just kind of staggering yourselves out time after time again. You got 30%. You didn't invest in the ultimates. Granted, EDM didn't use any ultimates either here, so you're about to see a pretty heavy ult fight from these two teams where I would expect to see a lot of ults come out, and you already see the mines on field splitting up Gap away from the rest of their team. But Gap, nice tech from there. Get out of that one. The mines not going to find really any value here other than just buying some time.
Yeah, a little bit of X game mode there for Gap as you're going to see Cardi-Fan just have to get out. He's going to try to 360 as the beats used with J-Man being down, but honestly, now you suddenly don't hate that. You get the trade back with the other Freya. J-Man's going to get back slightly quicker. Big slam as Crazy Cat's going to be alive momentarily. Consider Rush comes out, but Ewan has been taken care of early, and now Biz is going to get shut down on top of that. It's a devastating result for this fight. The only silver lining is Gap getting out with all this charge, but even so, J-Man finds the late pick onto Ryan.
And that could be a really quick re-engage here now from Amplify. You have all 5 of your members. You have Grab. You have your own Bola. But you see the ultimates that are used there. 3 for each side, I believe. Cardi-Fan, though, remember, they used mines at the start of that last engagement. Already 65% up to another one here. So they could have mines by the end of this fight. Point, though, about to be taken before the beat comes out, and you do see a touch.
Yep, Gorilla just going to be solo grabbed. Will be taken care of. That's the expectations right there. But now you got to try to win this fight around Copy. Ryan over on that Zarya. Now this grab would be absolutely massive. It's going to be thrown out directly over onto the Zarya. Cap is gone, but J-Man's going to try to bring this fight back around as the Copy eventually going to run out as Cardi-Fan needs to focus on being able to survive. Find targets to get rid of, and unfortunately has found both of them here. J-Man and Biz trying to keep things alive. Unfortunately, both going to fall into the pit, and now for Gap, they have the swap over to the ball as well. Need to force a touch.
It's going to be interesting to see if they can even get there as you see everyone from Emote come in.
Oh my god, what?
Speed boost of something I've never seen. Mines coming out here from Cardi-Fan, and you're seeing everyone from Amplify get back to the point, but they have to deal with the mines. Ewan can be taken out here pretty early on, though. But the staggers coming out here for Amplify, they just need a pick.
Yeah, and you could find one here. Graves getting low for a moment, but J-Man's just going to be found out. And Gap, it can keep stalling, but it's about finding these picks coming through here. You get the one, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and it will not. So that's going to be the first map settled away for EDM. But to be fair, you're already seeing glimpses of Amplify finding ways to deal with this composition, but it's some of these critical fights that they need to win, where they need to find these picks on people like PDK, where it's just not happening.
Yeah, again, PDK, just looking at the stats here, they went 23-3. I mean, again, we talked about how Cardi-Fan is a big problem. Yeah, they went 24-4, and 24-2, my bad, but 23-3 on a hit scan, especially compared to what J-Man did that map, is just insane. We talked about how PDK seemed to find J-Man out multiple times on Ruins. And then the second map, they weren't necessarily finding J-Man out, but they were just finding value. They were finding a lot of picks, finding a lot of damage out as well. And that's what you want to be seeing from PDK, because we saw them get really hot towards the end of the Dreamland series, but they started off slow. EDM, though, they got off to that hot start they were looking for. Amplify, though, I mean, they looked good on both points, but after they gave up the point on Well, they struggle to get anything going back there. And you could talk about ultimate usage from both teams, how each team kind of had their whiffs on them, but it just seemed like Emote down mid had a better understanding of when and how to use their ultimates.
Yeah, that was honestly a really big part of it. You saw some fights earlier where there was a big ult up, I believe it was back on Ruins, that came through, and Amplify didn't end up winning that fight. And it's obviously a rough situation to deal with, but what's been really rough is the fact that some of these final fights for Amplify, people get caught out early. And while this is a team that is, somehow this is weird to say over a team like Emote down mid and what they can do, he's really good at stalling points, of staggering things out, and forcing these smaller fights. But unfortunately, when you get picked off this early and you have to constantly fight from behind, that's tough for any team to do.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, if you're Amplify, you really found a lot of value being able to find the first pick. And I get it. That's a very easy thing to say in a lot of situations, but we have definitely seen some teams where sometimes having the first pick go against them actually ends up working out a little bit better for them. It seems like they understand the spacing, they understand what the other team didn't necessarily have to invest to necessarily get that first pick. And Emote down mid is one of those teams that can definitely punish that here. If they lose someone early, you still have Cardi, you still have PDK, you still have these members on this team that can do so much.
Yeah, you do, and that's what goes with having a team like this that has every member of this team is reliable. Every member of this team can go out and pull these things out of nowhere. It feels like sometimes, but it's with knowing a lot of this tech, with knowing a lot of the people that you're around. Honestly, you forget how long some of these players have been around each other. Maybe not all five, but certain groups with each other. You think of how long people like Biz and Crazy Cat have been together for. You think of how long people, like Ryan and PDK have been around for. Like that's just the nature of how this goes down and how experienced some of these players are with each other. That's just the name of the game when you get into a situation like this, and when certain minds come together, it produces phenomenal results. Because you look at EDM and they're made up of old Emote down mid and old Diltux, two teams which, by the way, you would call the one that's that's out of the ordinary in both of their respective divisions. For Amplify, it's a lot of people that unfortunately haven't found the biggest of success within the last year that have come together and have now formed this really amazing team that's competing at the highest level here in Master Tier.
Yeah, again, we talked about coming into this series how both these teams very good rosters. Emote down mid, I mean, you can talk about the OWCS experience they have on that one. You can talk about how Cardi Fan, again, you have to remember before the start of last stage in OWCS was signed to SSG.
Yeah.
However, the unfortunate stuff happened. He came back to, I believe it was EDM at the time, and they had a good season last year, not able to win it, but they still had a really good season. Amplify, though, we talked about it here. A lot of players that have been on a lot of different teams in the past, they seem to have a strong form here. And again, this Amplify squad and Masters Tier Hunter, media have watched it be roster after roster kind of changes in the 2 seasons that we covered, this being our third. And again, it's a different roster, but it seems like they found their core now. This seems like a team that is building, but right now, yeah, they could be building, but they want to win now. As we head into Shimbali Monastery here, it will be the Wu Yang band coming out from Amplify. Zarya band gonna be coming out from Emote down mid.
Yeah, this one's gonna be very interesting. Crazy things can happen on Shimbali Monastery. I feel like this is one of those maps where we've seen a lot of these games really go to the limit on a lot of occasions. You look back at some of these really big games. You look back at the showcase match we had between Panama and Nicaragua. Nicaragua, this is the map they took away. It went to overtime limits. It was a phenomenal battle that these teams had with each other. But obviously in this situation right here, it's the attack first for Amplify. They need to get out the gate strong here as they're going for a bit of a hybrid poke comp.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, Gap on this Orisa, especially with the Zarya being banned out here, this is kind of what we expected to see. Honestly, I thought we would see the Diva come out, but Cardi Fan knows how to do a lot with Doomfist, and it seems like Ewan might have noticed them just sitting on the roof. Eventually they'll get off it, but Gap already at half health here, has to quickly fall back, get some healing, but you want this Orisa to be taking a lot of space, and you're starting to see Amplify rotate towards that top side of the map here. They're going to try to take that high ground.
Yep, 100%. That's what you want to do, and obviously you want to try to force somebody to a weird situation. Ewing Low gets finished off. That's what you do. That's the big follow-up that you're hoping for to go through, but PDK eventually, she's going to get traded out right there, and as you have someone like Ryan who's just going to keep hanging around, keep forcing bodies into different areas, is somehow still alive. Ewan eventually going to find the finish, and while all these picks are still coming through, recognize at the end of the day as well, Amplify might end up somewhat losing this fight. They are going to get members back faster.
They're going to get members back a lot faster here, but EDM is not a team that knows when to quit. But they're just going to stay up here, especially finding Gap again, and then fighting Biz on the back end. I mean, hey, Cardi Fan and Crabes did a lot in that fight. Same thing with the Gorilla. That was one big thing that Amplify really struggled to do that fight. There was get rid of that support line for EDM, because as long as that support line's up, you know Cardi Fan's going to be there to do whatever they want. Cardi Fan, they're getting caught out pretty early there. Not going to really bite them just quickly, as again, Amplify going to try to take the high ground.
Yep, once again, and you're trying to find one select target in here to go on somebody, but it's hard to, because there's no one here that's really easy to chase down. PDK might be the best example, but eventually PDK is even going to get those double slides over on the Soj, but at the very least, they have been forced back. The initial corner has been given up, but this doesn't make it any easier. This corner is arguably even tougher to get through, especially you lose your Lucio this early on. And again, all of that intense pressure going to your back line. They're struggling to stay alive, and that solo healing can only get you so far.
Consumer Rush now coming out here from Gorilla, and that immediately is just a go find here for EDM. Crazy Cat will find Ryan, but you lose Gap. Crazy Cat finding two can invest their own rush here, even without Gap alive.
Yeah, and now you're hoping, and you see the separation there from Biz, who is going to be able to stay alive. And, I mean, Crazy Cat making the bold decision to let that Consumer Rush go back, but it's going to get you this next corner. It's going to keep you going more and more, but you have to take into consideration how far ahead some of these ults are. Grape is already going to have this beat ready to go. Ewan is a little bit behind, and whether that comes on a line in time, I think it's going to be extremely important here momentarily, as you're trying to find a little something to get into this fight with. Gap, he's going to have that Terror Surge, and it's going to let it go, and it forces out the beat. Oh wait, Grape loses it?
Ajax, they grab Ajax, Grapes right there. That's exactly what you need here if you're Amplify to get something going, but you need to get rid of Cardi Fan.
Wait, oh, no! No! And now they're going over towards the point. You need to keep Gap alive if you want any hope of winning this, and they get off the cart too. Oh my god, what is going on?
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to Overwatch.
Welcome to the Overwatch Masters tier, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't been here before, this isn't how it always looks, but man, is at least entertaining.
Sweet mother of God, but the fight still goes on anyway. J-Man does have the overclock ready to go here, and in fact, I Speak Into Existence is going to pop it out, trading of the tanks coming through, and now J-Man has this little back area, is going to be able to finish Grapes in the situation now. Advantage starting to go their way as J-Man might have to start getting out of dodge here. Ryan getting extremely low, trying to run away in time. And you're going to find the finish, and J-Man showing what they can do early on here. PDK eventually is going to help try to shut them down right here as J-Man still manages to get out alive.
Again, this is what we talked about. J-Man being, I think, one of our favorite hit scans in this region. And just no matter what team they are here, they have this opportunity to pop up at a moment's notice. The Consumer Rush coming out and
oh, the double slash right there. And now, if you are the squad, you are throwing 3 bodies on this cart, and you're doing everything you can to stop Cardi Fan from touching this thing.
Cardi Fan, Ryan, I think, is the one you really have to look at here. Graves has a chance as well. There comes Cardi Fan.
Wow.
Like, it's fun to watch a player know absolutely how to use a hero to their best abilities.
Yeah, and Biz is going to go for the slam directly on the Cardi Fan as they come down for the Meteor Strike. That's an amazing use right there. But now, again, you can't get off this cart a second time. You're going to move in. If you're PDK, you managed to get rid of one, but the point will eventually cap over. There's just, I give him a little more benefit that time. There was just not enough people to win that fight as 3:15 on the clock and a little bit of stagger around to Gorilla.
Guys, kill Gorilla, please. Gap was a little bit too low there. You can kill Gorilla.
Yeah.
And I mean, a great round here so far for Amplify. Granted, we've had 2 Ajaxes, one C9, another questionable C9, if you want to call it that. But this is exactly what we were looking for Amplify here. A little bit of a resurgence, and now look at them here. They have the Terror Surge, they have a beat. They're in good spots now. The beat ready for the other side. Grapes, though, if this one gets Ajax out of well, I just think you have to stop playing the character.
Yep, and I think they thought Gap was going to go in for that, as she wasn't going to pop the beat. And that's going to potentially be questionable. See whether or not there's a pick that comes through here right now. You're getting progress. But a Cardi Fan hanging around means this fight is just never going to go anywhere, as Gap is going to be separated and the beats just end up being traded out and take a little more time off this clock. And they're getting a couple picks at the end here too, as you win a little separate from the squad is going to run off to Neverland and just going to have to regroup the hard way.
And this is the scary part about this EDM roster. No matter what, they have the opportunity to just kind of flip the switch and just seem like every mistake they made before just never happened. And especially on this point, this is a hard choke to get through because it's essentially just 2 doors. There's no third way for them to go. It's very easy to guess which way you're going to see Amplify go. Has to use a dupe to keep themselves alive, but J-Man shuts that down immediately.
Yeah, and you kind of love that at the end of the day from both sides of things. It's a great play to come through, but the instant burn, Ryan dies anyway, and now it's a rough corner to be in. Cardi Fan is surrounded, somehow has stayed alive throughout all of that, but PDK finishes off too in the process. That's such a rough thing you have to deal with. The fact that Cardi Fan is still alive is absolutely bonkers.
Cardi Fan should have been dead 1, 2, maybe 3 times there.
Man.
Again, this support line, he just knows how to deal with Cardi. To be able to keep him alive at all times. Suzu coming out, perfect opportunities there for Gorilla. Grapes amping at the right time as well. I mean, everything is in sync right now for this EDM roster. But you look at where the card is here, Hunter. One fight win is all that Amplify really needs here. Granted, they only have the overclock going up against 3, potentially 4 ultimates ready for the other side here. But we've seen J-Man pop up in the past. I just don't know if right now would be the moment to use this.
It feels like you almost want to force an overinvestment here at the end of the day, because you're coming up to 2, maybe 3 more of your own ultimates at the other side of things. If you could somehow get this out of Gorilla, that would be massive, and that you do. And now PDK gets extremely low and forced out of the fight. Cardifan and Grapes able to find picks of their own, but at the end of the day, they are going to lose out on this fight. But to be fair, this is not a result that you necessarily hate. You hold on to the overclock, and you get rid of 2 of their ultimates in the process. You don't hate it.
Yeah, you don't hate it, but you also look at what they're coming up to here. 2 of their own ultimates. Hi, Cardifan in the backline, already going after Gap. But, I mean, again, this would be a moment if you could punish Cardifan, it would be huge. But you look at what Amplify's coming into here. You still have Overclock. You're going to have Sundering Blade. You're going to have your own Terror. And Ewan could really build up to a beat here in this fight. They have opportunities to really take this map and complete it.
Yep, and you see right now, you're ready to go on this. And PDK shuts down J-Man instantaneously, and now Gap needs to be a little bit of a hero for the squad. Unfortunately, I don't think heroism is going to be the call here, as it's just Biz and Gap remaining. At this point, going to be given up here. Overtime 6 over, but there will not be another touch. All things considered, a good push for Amplify, but unfortunately, cannot get the job done.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can just not. But again, getting all the way to where they did, I would say is a really, really good result there for Amplify. Again, you needed a lot of stuff to go your way there. You just needed a good round, especially after what we would probably consider good rounds from them on Ilios. They just weren't able to come out on top. They don't finish this one, but you're still happy at what you got here. And just looking at the stats, yeah, I mean, some of them are pretty even, especially when you look at J-Man and PDK. Yeah, PDK has a couple more kills, but they have 1 more death. Cardifan and Gap, though, that's always going to be one you want to look at. Cardifan, on this Doomfist, it just seems like they understand what they need to do. 20-3 compared to what Gap did on the Orisa that entire round of 12-7. I mean, you can even see it there. It seems like you're getting a little bit more support coming out from that support line for Amplify. There's just a lot of pressure being thrown onto Gap, especially when you look at damage as well. PDK with 10,000 damage.
Yeah, PDK's been really good at shutting people down. I think the biggest factor is, while Cardifan's been doing it too, PDK especially has been keeping Gap and sometimes J-Man silent as well, with all this enormous damage coming through, constantly having a check on them right here. So right now, you're hoping to be able to shut that down a little bit more, as you see Ryan is contemplating going out with the Widow, maybe just for the opening shot to get things going. The question is how you're going to deal with this defense with Gap over on the Orisa still, because someone is going to have to drop to touch his car, and for all the intents and purposes, it might have to be Biz in some situations.
Ryan, though, would have landed a shot there on the Gap. Wouldn't really have done much, but instead I think it was Gap that found a couple shots onto them instead here. But yeah, you talk about here, someone's going to have to touch cart. Biz already needing a lot of help. Suzu coming out here very early on. I think if you're EDM, you just go in on that almost immediately.
Yeah, and you see a lot of aggression here from Gap, pretty much dedicating their life to try to get rid of him. And honestly, the bright side is you get rid of him, but how much is this going to be worth it at the end of the day? You're still trading out. Gap's going to be back super slow in comparison to Cardifan, and with this fight, it's essentially going to be lost right here. I don't know if I love this.
I mean, Ewan now is just going to sacrifice their body on the cart. It was an interesting play, because if it worked out, I mean, it would have worked out very good there for Amplify, but because it fails now and you still have a couple members staggering back out here, you're going to be trying to quickly get back out here as Cardifan and Ryan, PDK. They could all kind of play up here, try to really force Amplify into a spot where someone just has to make the touch instead. Gorilla, though, barely going to get out with their life there, uses the Suzu, but Biz wants them.
Yeah, but it's a weird trade out. Biz going to pay for that die, but again, you don't hate it. You get rid of all this amazing healing, but everybody in one place is not what you really want. Cardifan will take advantage of something like that, and you see J-Man has been taken care of once again here. Ryan at the Pulse Bomb Online has already gotten rid of 2 people. Make it a 3-piece combo. Trying to add a fries and a drink onto that one. Pulse Bomb still ready to go, as Gap should be able to be burnt away without the use of it, as they'll go down, and that first point is going to be pretty quick.
Biz coming in, finding 2 picks there. Would have been better if there was still support there for Amplify, but you look at the clock now, 4 minutes, 45 seconds, and Gap going to the Hog. You also see J-Man make a swap over to the Cassidy as well. You're just looking for stuff to really try to slow down Cardifan, because a lot of how EDM is playing right now is really revolving around Cardifan, just causing so much chaos, so much disruption here. So the hook, you now have Flashbang as well. A lot of members on this side is J-Man already making the 6-shooter find its value, getting rid of Grapes.
Yeah, and now this means you have to play so much safer if you're Cardifan. The Cardifan, by the way, just gets drilled right through as PDK managed to find one, and everyone still hiding away. PDK finds a second. Pulse Bomb thrown in to get the third, and PDK gets the follow-up, and now it's just Gap. All they can do is just die on the point, and again, it's such good play from Amplify, but PDK single-handedly kills 4 people.
Again, these hit scans are going to be a highlight throughout this entire map right there, and I just want to say thank you, CTO, for raiding me and also giving me a jump scare there, dude. Yeah, but right now, I mean, EDM, they're showing us right now why I believe that they could be the sleeper team in this bracket. Yeah, it's standings are standings. They're the 5th seed. I don't think it necessarily matters. This team, when they're playing at their best, they look like an entirely different beast here. And they're going to have ultimates to boot coming into this fight here. You're going to beat your Gap Kitsune. You're going to have your Meteor Strike, which Cardifan will use to get out of trouble here. But this is a fight where if you're Amplify, you need to win just to be able to eat some time away.
You need it so desperately. Now Kitsune Rush thrown out. Thrown back the other side pretty much instantly. Here comes that Centering Blade on for Biz. Finds Grape, so no more beat available. And Cardifan is going to choose to not invest here, and that is 100% the right call. As Ryan PDK should be able to get out of here alive, but Ryan is actually still in there, and unfortunately will have to eat the death. But that is a massive fight win right there to get some momentum on your side.
Absolutely. Like I said, you needed that there. Just to at least be able to eat some time, even if you give up this 3rd point. Like I said, they still have beat. They still have Meteor Strike on the other side, but now look at Amplify. They're coming up to their own Deadeye, their own beat, their own whole Hog here, which I did not expect to be saying that here tonight, but Gap is definitely showing us here, but they haven't been able to really land a hook just yet. You need to land one here, because if you land it on someone like PDK, that can get rid of a huge target very, very early on.
Yep, and that's a big hook. You called it into existence. Gap finds the perfect one, and Grapes is going to invest the B in Ewan. BioRanks has to throw it directly back. Cardifan is in the back line, hoping to make something happen. It's going to be pulled back in, getting extremely low, trying to get a little bit of Karis. Gorilla's trying to keep them within this one right now, and so far is doing a good job. But again, Cardifan pulled in and is going to invest the ult, is going to hope to find a little something with Ewan, getting desperately low, eventually going to be caught out. Another great hook, taking them down, but still, you're running out of help if you're Gap. You just have to give up a little bit of space here and hopefully regroup.
You lose Biz, though, who came right back in. Gap's the only one left alive here now, and they just have to hit the rebreather to keep themselves up. You do see Crazy Cat back, but Crazy Cat already being pressured out here. Gap will fall. Ewan now last one here to touch, and Hunter, they're going to have to go to this point now and hold for about it's going to be about 3.5 minutes. 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 3 minutes on the clock, which, to be fair, not undoable. It definitely isn't, but you need a good opening fight. You need to force this into a 2-fight situation, and Ryan, still having the Pulse Bomb, as proven before, they know how to stick them.
Yeah, absolutely here. But again, you see that golden box of victory right now for EDM. It's very, very doable here in one team fight. And Cardifan getting off the Doom, going over to the Orisa instead. Gap gonna mirror that here, getting rid of the whole Hog. I would not be surprised if you see Cardifan just kind of back up, go over to the Doomfist instead, and just give up this kind of fight here. Grape, so already very low, not gonna be taken out here very early on. But you could see Emote invest heavy into this fight, knowing that Amplify doesn't have anything.
Yeah, and man, again, Cardifan lucky to be alive. Once again, gets all the heals, all the support that they possibly need. They're going to move in, try to end this one right here and now. And Biz is the first one to go down. PDK is going to throw in, and Pulse Bomb gets rid of 2. And PDK and Ryan are going to finish things out here. Going to bring it over to match point. And they have been elite today so far, Dix.
Absolutely, and a little bit of here, Mr. Postman, here's my pipe bomb going there on to Ewan, giving it to Gap right there to find that kill. But I mean, again, PDK can play the game here, not necessarily the biggest shot considering what we saw from them, but we saw Amplify here have their moments, but they just aren't able to get over the hump. Again, this Emote down mid-team, you can slow down one person like they slowed down Cardifan a little bit, but PDK is still there for them. It doesn't matter. They are just that good at kind of shutting them down throughout this entire series so far. And hey, again, for everyone who just rated here, both me and Hunter are streaming this series, and hey, connect your Faceit account to the panel below both our streams for a chance to get some Faceit point drops throughout this series.
Yeah, it is going to be big. You got potentially double your chances by pulling both up. Just make sure you get that thing connected and get in on this action. But of course, if you're just joining us, you see that EDM is currently up 2-0 on match point over Amplify. And by no stretch of the imagination has it been easy for them. It has been Amplify coming up with different solutions of how to shut them down. And they seem to find solutions, and EDM pretty much turns it around and pretty much subjugates their own reality into the situation.
Yeah, again, this is what the I think the best teams in this tier really show you that they can take some adversity and quickly turn it around and be able to and turn it right back to the other team here. EDM is definitely one of those teams. They struggled with that a little bit against Dreamland yesterday, but it wasn't throughout the entire series. It was maybe about the first map and a half where they struggled against Dreamland. That third map of Dorado, you saw EDM just have a great map, and then Dreamland had the pick there and really shut them back down as they took us to a map that Wrecking Ball doesn't find the most value. Amplify, though, King's Row is their choice here. This is their do or die map now, not only for the series, but for the season here. And you have to have some really good bands coming out here. Again, you do have first band now for Amplify. They haven't touched Doom. They haven't touched Wrecking Ball. I don't know which one to get rid of on this map, though. Probably Doom?
I would say Doom realistically in the situation, and mainly because you think of first and third point, where, to be fair, Ball can have plenty of uses too, but I think you're going to have more uses elsewhere. But the Alari ban comes through here, and again, this is again to protect supports. They are prioritizing protecting their own supports over getting rid of the tank. Because if they go and they ban away that tank, the first thing that they're going to do is ban out either the Kiri or the Lucio immediately.
And from the other side, it's going to be EDM banning out Vendetta, which is very, very interesting from them. Considering that we have seen Amplify play the Vendetta throughout the entire night with Biz finding some value. I'll say some. They've been hot and cold, I think, on this Vendetta, especially out of Zarya. Like it was banned out last map, I believe. It struggles into just any playstyle, but Biz decided to try it. They had their times where it's like, hey, they're finding 2, they're finding 3, and then there are other times where it's like, hey, they've gone a life or 2 without finding a pick.
Yeah, they 100% have. And still, Biz found a level of success, did struggle in some senses, in the sense that EDM did target them a lot in some of these opening fights. Because obviously, you have to be more on the aggressive side on Vendetta to get value, and that's just the nature of it. But when you're on those characters, obviously like the Doomfist, you're able to disrupt that block away and able to break through that. So maybe it's a situation where Biz pulls his thing up here that ends up working out better, genuinely. And then it's not with Biz as a player being better at one character or another. It's just that maybe something is going to work better into this squad. That's a very real reality of the situation. That's just things, how they're going to be into a squad that is not traditionally like many other squads that you have to make your own adjustments for.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, if you're Amplify, these adjustments, they need to be the best adjustments you've made all season. You have to remember when these two teams met in the regular season, I did talk about it a little bit earlier. It was a 3-1 victory for Emote down mid, where Amplify did take the third map of the series. So right now we could be seeing maybe the same thing here again. Maybe not. Emote down mid might be looking a little bit stronger right now, but I think Amplify, especially with their performance yesterday, I'm not going to count them out of this series. Yeah, they're down 2-0. They have to reverse sweep to move on, but I think this is still a team that is so full of surprises that at a moment's notice, if they flip that switch and they figure it all out, Emote down mid's going to have some struggles here. You're going to have the Zarya back. You're going to have the Diva back as well, because you remember Emote down mid banned Diva back out on map 1, and the Diva really did give Cardifan a lot of problems yesterday in their Dreamland series.
Yeah, it really did before, so it's down to Amplify to create their own reality, to find a way to get through this first victory here. It's got to start with King's Row, and it's going to be a tough journey, but they got to find a way to make it happen to keep themselves alive as I transition back to us because I'm a silly little prod guy. But we're here to get this one started. As you're going to see on the attack, E is going to be Amplify first. So whatever EDM come out on, that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, and look, without the Vendetta, I actually like this. If they stick with
Yeah.
it for Biz on this venture instead, because, yeah, you don't necessarily have the stunning potential that you could get with the Vendetta, but you have the ability with the dash to slow down Cardifan and force them into some spots where they're going to have to use a couple more of their abilities to get out of it, and that, I think, is a good move here for them. J-Man, I imagine, is going to be going back over to the Soj after the initial start of this map after one shot. But hey, if J-Man finds one shot, just someone poking their head on maybe a little bit too long, and they find that early pick, I want to see Amplify go fast, like really, really fast to the point, because it's going to be up to EDM at that point to make that quick adjustment.
Yep, 100%. And they're going to get out the gates here. J-Man going to try to find that opening shot. He's going to give it up. But you see right now, I noted before, Ryan was heading over in the hotel, but he's going to get out of the spot and reset. But Gap, back over on the Roadhog, is going to be extremely interesting and tough to deal with. And Biz is just going to be stunned out immediately right there, taken care of, and this fight is going to be done and dusted immediately.
And,
wow.
That's not how you want that one to end right there. Honestly, I think if you're Amplify here, you make some more swaps. Biz already getting off the venture, going over to the main instead. I like that, especially if you're going to try to play this hog a little more, section off one person, combo that up there, make sure that you get them off the map. That could be a really good thing here. But again, that was such a disjointed first engagement there from Amplify. Anything could be better this time around.
Yeah, genuinely, and Ryan is forced out of their position. His Gap is as well, but still, unfortunately, the hook not working right there, but they eventually need to find that good hook to break them through to make this happen. But it's also on people like J-Man to find these picks early on, because Ryan and PDK have been so consistent throughout the series to where they need to find a way to shut people down. And you say that with PDK getting low, J-Man super low as well, and eventually PDK going to be the first casualty of this fight. And now you need to regroup, keep everybody going, find your next target. And you would love for it to be Cardifan, as somehow that gets taken out right there. I think the cleanse potentially aided in that effort, but still, they're going after and giving everything to try to get rid of Gap.
Get rid of Ewan. J-Man's going to be the next one to fall here, but you do get a tick if you are Amplify here. Cardifan getting very low, but Gap again just having to hit the rebreathe to keep it alive. Cardifan again very low, but no one's going to be able to find them there. Kitsune Rush now out from Amplify as they want to try to quickly win this fight to get this point.
Yeah, and they're going to get at least a second tick online here, but still, you need to have a response ready to go, because now you're going to have a pulse bomb with this initial touch. It's ready to go. Doesn't have a defined target quite yet. Is everyone going to be forced around as Grapes is going to hit this? The freeze going to come online here for Biz. Wants to try to find somebody in, and it's going to force everybody off of the point, as J-Man going to be the first casualty of the fight, 89% over on the board. It looks like that's where it's going to stay with the finishes coming through, but at the end of the day, you forced out the Consider Rush and the beat, which means Ewan has basically a free beat going into this fight.
They have a free beat. J-Man's going to have Deadeye ready to go as well, and Gap has Whole Hog, so if you're just going to try to buy some time on the point, Whole Hog will be able to do that there, and Biz almost getting taken out from spawn. That would have been just a disaster for Amplify here, but PDK, Ryan, the pulse bomb, especially on someone like Ewan, could be devastating here right now, and we saw what PDK was able to do last map with an overclock here. That's exactly what they're looking for here very early on in this fight, but it's going to be Cardifan getting hooked in there by Gap, but again, just not enough damage on that Hog to clean up their Doomfist.
100%, and J-Man just caught out, and Gap can't find the hook properly, and now there's the beat, the investment, and Gap's going to triple down on this, and it's not going to work, man. They're going to shut it down. Crazy Guy gets a pick, and that's great and all, but they're still going to be cleared out and have to hit the reset.
And I mean, you have these two ticks, you're up to 89%. Gap now going to go over to the Drunken Queen instead. Biz going over to the Soj, so double hit scan now coming out from Amplify. At this point, Hunter, it just kind of seems like they're throwing stuff at the wall, but hey, they need to here. You really only have one more fight, and you're walking into two ultimates from the other side since Ryan never used the Pulse Bomb, and Cardifan, hey, they never get out of jail free card with that Meteor Strike ready to go, and Biz almost taken out early. Goodbye, DPS line.
Yep, and now you are getting everybody out as soon as you can. Let Gap die. That is fine. Now you're reset, and now you have to worry about getting a touch to realistically keep yourselves alive in this thing.
Remember we talked about the bans coming into this map here, how we really thought they needed to get rid of Doomfist because that was going to probably be the tank that finds the most value here. I think they needed to get rid of the Doomfist as PDK shuts down Biz, but there's a touch coming out now from Amplify. They could still get the final tick here, though.
They still could, yeah. It's going to be on J-Man, who's literally struggling to stay alive, is able to find one here, though, is keeping these alive. Deadeye is available, and eventually it's going to come through, and They're going to try to Corman on somebody with Grapes. Is going to have the beat online, and that could be the thing to shut this down here and there. Eventually, J-Man going to be pressed by everybody out of that engagement, and it looks like, yeah, EDM going to shut things down, and now they're going to be realistically one fight away from locking in their stage 2 position.
Yeah, I mean, again, you bring us to Kings Row because again, we talk about a lot when we see this map. Every team picks this map because they think this is the map they will always win, and I think we have to focus on the ban here a little bit. I mean, the Iari ban, very interesting considering we haven't seen the Iari, and you, I think, called it right. It's definitely a protection ban for the support line because I personally believe if you don't ban a support here, you probably just see the Lucio ban come out here because I think Ewan is always very much known for their Lucio. You get rid of them here. I think they've struggled on some other supports, but they can still do the job. They just needed to find something there a little bit earlier on. Now, like you said, if you're EDM, one fight, all you need is PDK talking about they need 10 more damage. I hate it.
Yep, same.
But yeah, as you look at the stats here, I mean, Cardifan, Grapes never died that entire round there for PDK, for EDM. I mean, again, Cardifan is this tank player that if you let them just kind of do their thing, you might have a really bad time. PDK, same thing. Again, leading the lobby in damage, I feel like it's been a pretty consistent thing for them here. And you look at the other side, the highest elims for Amplify is Ewan. I mean, you need more support here from your DPS line. We saw this yesterday for EDM in the Dreamland series where, yeah, Ryan and PDK really picked it up towards the end of it, but was a little bit too late. I don't think you're seeing that here from Amplify's DPS line just yet.
Nope. And now it has to be the hold of the century, which is now becoming increasingly harder as Gap is pulled back out right there as Biz is down, but on the Tracer will be able to get back quickly. PDK eventually will go down as a result, but it's a full dive into the back line here. Try to keep this one going, and they go for the investment. It's not going to work out, and while you miss out on that hook, there's still time for a regroup. Let's make sure that's very kept into account right here. As Ewan goes down, you still have J-Man hanging around. Crazy Head is going to swap for the touch, but it is desperation time.
Yeah, it's desperation time. I see Gap coming back out on the Doomfist here. Crazy Cat on the Juno as well. Everyone, like you said, there should be a touch coming out here from Amplify. They don't have to rush back into it, but now they do have to rush. They cannot afford to really leave this point open any longer. And they wait just a millisecond too long, and Emote down mid. They will be moving on to the lower bracket semifinals to take on the winner of Nightmare versus Nightmare Academy.
Yeah, and an unfortunate end for Amplify in their season, but they still solidify their spot into Masters next season. And they go in here and for quite a little bit of this, they put up a really good fight into an EDM team, the same EDM team that nearly pushed Dreamland to the limit. And at the end of the day, EDM, they're lucky in that top 4 spot. They are looking pretty right now, to say the least. But yeah, unfortunate for Amplify, but I think it's truly a good story as to what this roster was able to do with the season before them being able to go 9-6 to push themselves all the way into this to get that big win over Extinction. This, for them, I think should be considered a successful season because they went out there and they did what perhaps some people predicted that they couldn't do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, Amplify, they locked into next season's Master, which I think for a couple teams coming into this playoffs was probably the goal. And the fact that YFP and Extinction are not any of those teams that have locked themselves in is a big surprise, especially Extinction, because there were some people really talking about them, like I said at the start of the stream, being able to make that lower bracket run and make it back to the grand finals, where a lot of people thought it would be Nightmare, potentially Dreamland, who still kind of waiting there at the moment. But I mean, you have to give Amplify a lot of credit. A good season for them here. Yeah, it ends probably not the way you were looking for it to go, but I think especially for this being a team that, like I said, brought in a couple new players this season. Yeah, they had their ups, they had their downs. This is definitely a season where they were able to find their core. I think next season, since they're locked into it, if they stay together, they will be one of the scarier teams in Masters tier. EDM though, again, we saw this performance from them yesterday towards the back half of the series. Dreamland just had too much going for them in the early part of the series that EDM just couldn't get back into it. We saw the DPS line for EDM really start to pick up the slack there. We saw it there at the end. PDK and Ryan just doing a lot. And when I'm saying a lot, I mean a lot. Cardifan doing basically everything you kind of expect them to do there. And then we're just not even talking about the support line for this EDM team.
Yeah.
Really. Again, it's not to discredit them at all, because Graves and uh, Gorilla did an
Gorilla.
incredible
Yeah.
job throughout the night. Incredible job throughout the night. A lot of the times we even talked about it seemed like Cardi fans should have died in a lot of instances, but that support line able to keep him up is probably the reason that we did not see Shambali Monastery get completed by Amplify.
Yeah, it's literally the reason why it didn't happen. And obviously it's a rough situation, but that's just what this Emote down mid squad is able to do. This is what they've shown they've been able to do. The consistency that they have, and these supports are 100% included in this conversation. And this is the team that obviously, by every stretch of the imagination, is a team that can still go all the way. They've proven they have the ability to do so. Previously, they managed to get, I believe it was third place before, back at season 5. Going through a little bit of a lower bracket run, but they put themselves in a good position. Obviously, they're either going to have to face either Nightmare Pro or Nightmare Academy. We'll see what the result of that game is, because it has to update on Faceit, which I'm just going to do a quick little refresh to make sure it's not sent in already. Faceit is slowly loading, but continue.
While you look it up, Emote down mid, if they go up against Nightmare Pro, it would be a matchup of week 1, the first game for both those teams, where Nightmare did win that one. If they go up against Nightmare Academy, well, it's a little bit of a familiar matchup. EDM Nightmare Academy was both those teams' final game of the regular season, where Nightmare Academy won at 3-0. But EDM said after the game was because, hey, PDK wasn't there. First round of the playoffs, they get the rematch. PDK there. Emote down mid wins 3-0 in that series there. So you have the tail of tape, maybe, if Nightmare Academy makes it, and Emote down mid at full strength. I'm going to say here, if it's Nightmare Pro that ends up in that lower semifinals.
Yeah, that means it's going to be really interesting either way. Either you get the trifecta or you get a big week 1 rematch. I think both are fantastic, realistically speaking. But obviously we won't know until we know the results of that match, which obviously we have to wait for it to be updated. But obviously we know this game is done and dusted, and we have a little bit more going on tomorrow, because again, talking with North America, obviously we're going to go ahead and cover that upper bracket game with Dreamland in Kintsugi going at it for a spot in the grand finals. But before that, Dex, we got to give a little love to South America. We're going to go for their lower semis. It's going to be Agave Garfo taking on their opponents over there within Cosmos, and it should be a good game over there. It's realistically probably our last doubleheader of the season, and as sad as it is, it should be a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, Agave Garfo and Cosmos, again, that should be a really fun matchup. I believe they played very early on in the season, and Agave Garfo ended up losing that one there. But Cosmos, they had a little bit of a struggle towards the end of the season. Yeah, they lost one, and it was to Truck Flog, who's in that upper bracket finals against Steel Paddles. That's what will be happening at the same time tomorrow. But I think Agave Garfo coming into playoffs was the hottest team. The fact that Truck Vlog swept them in the first, or Vlog de Caminero swept them in that upper bracket first round, was a little bit of a shock to both, or not necessarily a shock, a little bit of a surprise to both me and you. So the doubleheader we have tomorrow will be a good one, and especially for people who like their Faceit point drops, because remember, me and Hunter both are streaming this, both are featured co-streamers for this season's Faceit playoffs, and the drops will be available for both South America and North America.
Yep, 100%. So make sure you tune in for that. Get your points while they're here, because while they're still around for quite a while, there's only going to be so many opportunities. But hey, we appreciate all of y'all coming out here for this game, for supporting us, for supporting Overwatch in general, this competitive scene. We have so many amazing players, coaches, teams that are going in and giving their hearts and their souls into this action. So we appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate y'all supporting it. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll be back for some more playoff action here for Faceit League Season 7. Take care.